One who is good for making excuses is seldom good for anything else. The reasons, the justifications, the explanations, the things you tell yourself when the pressure gets too heavy, when the grind starts to hurt, when the fear of failure creeps in. I'm tired. I don't have enough time. I wasn't born with the same advantages. My situation is different. I've heard it all before. And maybe you have a point. Maybe your life has been harder than someone else's. Maybe you weren't handed the same opportunities. Maybe you faced obstacles that most people wouldn't understand. But let me ask you something. So what? What are you going to do about it? Are you going to sit there and use it as a reason to hold yourself back? Or are you going to fight through it? Because I promise you, the world doesn't care about your excuses. Life doesn't care. The clock doesn't stop because you don't feel like showing up today. The opportunity doesn't wait for you to be ready. Ready or not, life keeps moving. And while you're sitting there making excuses, someone else is out there grinding. Someone else is pushing through the same pain, the same struggles, the same fears, and they're finding a way. They're not making excuses. They're making progress. And when it's all said and done, that's the difference between those who make it and those who don't. The ones who make it don't find reasons why they can't. They find ways that they can. They don't dwell on the obstacles. They figure out how to overcome them. And if you can't understand that, if you can't accept that, then you've already lost. Because the moment you give yourself permission to make excuses, you give yourself permission to fail. Excuses are easy. That's why people make them. They take the weight off your shoulders. They let you off the hook. They let you believe that your situation is different, that your struggle is special, that your failures aren't your fault. And that feels good, doesn't it? It feels good to take the pressure off. It feels good to tell yourself that if things were just a little different, you'd be successful. It feels good to believe that your time will come, that you're just waiting for the right moment. But that's a lie. There is no perfect moment. There is no right time. There is only now. And every second you spend making excuses is a second you lose forever, a second you'll never get back. You say you don't have time, then make time. You say you don't have the resources, then figure out how to make it work with what you've got. You say it's too hard, then embrace the fact that nothing worth having comes easy. That's the mentality you need, because at the end of the day, the only thing standing between you and your dream is the story you keep telling yourself about why you can't achieve it. You think excuses only affect one part of your life? You think skipping one workout, one practice, one study session is harmless? That's where you're wrong. Excuses are a disease. They start small. One skipped session, one day of slacking, one moment of weakness. But then it happens again and again. And before you know it, you've built a habit of quitting. You've trained yourself to accept less. You've conditioned yourself to settle for mediocrity. And let me tell you something. Once you get comfortable with mediocrity, it's damn near impossible to break free. You start lowering the bar in everything you do. You don't just skip the gym, you start slacking at work. You don't just take it easy in practice, you start cutting corners in life. You stop pushing yourself. You stop expecting more from yourself. And eventually, you look in the mirror and you don't even recognize the person staring back at you. You see someone who could have been great, someone who had the talent, had the potential, had the opportunities, but threw them all away because it was easier to make excuses than to put in the work. You want to know the real cost of excuses? It's not just a missed opportunity. It's not just a failed dream. It's not just a life that could have been more. It's who you become. You don't just lose a championship. You don't just lose a job. You don't just lose time. You lose yourself. You lose the version of yourself that could have been unstoppable. The version of yourself that had the discipline, the drive, the mindset to achieve anything. That version of you dies every time you make an excuse. And the worst part, by the time you realize what you've lost, it's too late to get it back. Because the thing about time is, once it's gone, you don't get a second chance. And let me tell you something, there is nothing worse than looking back on your life and realizing you let yourself down. Realizing that you were the one who held yourself back, that you were the one who stood in your own way, that nobody beat you, you beat yourself. That's a pain you don't want to feel. That's a regret that will haunt you for the rest of your life. And if you don't believe me, go ask someone who let their excuses control them. Go ask someone who had a dream but never chased it. Go ask someone who looks back on their life and sees nothing but wasted potential. Ask them if their excuses were worth it. So here's what I need you to do. No more excuses. No more, I'll start tomorrow. No more, I'm not ready yet. No more, it's too hard. You don't have time for that. You don't have the luxury of waiting. You don't have the privilege of making excuses, because every day you waste is a day you'll never get back. Every excuse you make is a step further away from your dream. Every time you choose the easy way out, you're choosing failure. So I need you to make a decision right now. Are you going to be the person who talks about what could have been, or are you going to be the person who makes it happen? Are you going to let your excuses define you, or are you going to rise above them? Are you going to let life beat you down, or are you going to fight for what you want? That's the choice. That's the reality, and you have to make that choice every single day. When you wake up tired, when you don't feel like showing up, when you fail and want to quit, you make the choice to keep going. You make the choice to push through. You make the choice to silence that voice in your head that's telling you to take it easy. Because at the end of the day, you either make excuses or you make history, but you can't do both. You either put in the work or you watch someone else live the life you wanted. You either push through the pain or you let it break you. You either take control of your life or you let your excuses control you. And if you're still sitting here, still hesitating, still looking for a reason why you can't, then you've already lost. But if you're ready to stop making excuses, if you're ready to take responsibility, if you're ready to show up every single day and give it everything you've got, then nothing can stop you. Not pain, not setbacks, not failure, nothing. Because once you remove excuses from your life, once you commit fully, once you refuse to settle for anything less than your best, you become unstoppable. So what's it going to be? Keep making excuses, or start making progress? Keep telling yourself stories, or start writing your own legacy? Keep dreaming about greatness, or start becoming great? The choice is yours. But I promise you this, when it's all said and done, your excuses won't matter. Your actions will.